Today's presentation is about a most important muscle of the face that's located over the cheek, the buccinator muscle. The term buccinator means trumpeter, hence it's called the trumpeter's muscle. Also, the contraction of the buccinator helps to expel the air from the inflated cheek. That's why it's called whistler's muscle. When any muscle is asked as a short note, these are the headings under which we have to describe it. The location of the muscle, the origin, the cause, relations. In case of buccinator, we are going to talk about the structures piercing buccinator, the action of the muscle, nerve supply of the muscle, then how to test the muscle, and finally, what will happen when the muscle goes for paralysis. So we know that the buccinator is situated over the cheek. It is grouped along with the muscles of facial expression because it shares its development and nerve supply with them. But functionally, it is an accessory muscle of mastication because it's going to help in chewing food. It is a deeply placed muscle of the cheek. It lies in the interval between the maxilla and mandible. So, this we are seeing the base of the skull, the arrows pointing towards the pterygoid plates of the sphenoid bone. So the sphenoid bone has medial and lateral pterygoid plates. The arrows pointing at the lateral pterygoid plate. Close to it, medial to it, we have the medial pterygoid plate. And the medial pterygoid plate presents the pterygoid hamulus. That is what's shown in green color here. That's the pterygoid hamulus. A fibrous ligament or band extends from the pterygoid hamulus to the inner surface of the mandible behind the third molar. This is called as the pterygomandibular raphe. The anterior part of the pterygomandibular raphe is going to give rise to the buccinator muscle, whereas the posterior border of the pterygomandibular raphe will give rise to the superior constrictor muscle of pharynx. Between the two medial pterygoid plates, we can see the posterior aspect of the nasal cavity, the Omer bone in the posterior part of the septum there, the midline. Behind the nasal cavity, we have the nasopharynx. The superior constrictor is a circular muscle of the nasopharynx, pharynx. So that's the pterygomandibular raphe. The anterior part of it is going to give rise to the buccinator muscle. This is the same pterygomandibular raphe. We are looking at from a posterior view in an articulated skull. The anterior view showing the pterygomandibular raphe. So the buccinator, it arises from the outer surface of alveolar process of the maxilla opposite the 3 molar tooth. It also arises from the outer surface of alveolar process of the mandible opposite the 3 molar tooth. The middle or the intermediate fibers, they arise from the anterior border of pterygomandibular raphe. Now all these fibers, they come towards the angle of the mouth. The buccinator fibers on reaching the angle of mouth, they are arranged into 3 groups: the upper group, the middle group and the lower group. The fibers of the upper group that come from the maxilla, they are inserted into upper lip. The fibers from the lower group that come from the mandible, they are inserted into the lower lip. The fibers that come from the pterygomandibular raphe, just lateral to the angle of mouth, are the modulus, they decussate. After this decussation, the fibers of the lower group, they insert into the upper lip, and the fibers from the upper group, they insert into the lower lip. To the relations of buccinator muscle, let's learn using a simple schematic diagram. This is the buccinator muscle. The outer surface of buccinator muscle is covered by a thin areolar membrane. called the buccopharyngeal fascia. The inner aspect of the buccinator, we know the buccinator is a thin flat muscle of the cheek. The inner aspect of the buccinator is covered by mucous membrane of the vestibule. Vestibule, as I told you already, is the part of the oral cavity that lies between the mucous membrane of the cheek and the teeth. External to the buccopharyngeal fascia, we have the buccal pad of fat. Outer to that is the masseter. All of us know that the masseter is an important muscle concerned with mastication. Now, the outer surface of the masseter muscle is covered by a thick fascia, thickening of fascia called the parotidomasseteric fascia. This parotidomasseteric fascia is part of the superficial musculo-aponeurotic system of face. And finally, outer to that, we have the skin and subcutaneous connective tissue. So we'll do it now. This is a buccinator. Outer to it, the buccopharyngeal fascia. Inner to it, mucous membrane of the vestibule. Outer to the buccopharyngeal fascia, buccal, pad of fat, masseter muscle, parotidomasseteric fascia, skin and subcutaneous connective tissue. Now, the parotid duct pierces the buccal fat pad, pierces buccopharyngeal fascia, pierces the buccinator muscle, and then pierces the mucous membrane of the vestibule to open into it. Just below the parotid duct, we have the lower buccal branch of facial nerve, which comes to innervate the buccinator muscle. Now, there are two important buccal nerves that you should know about. One is the buccal branch of facial nerve, which is entirely motor. The other one is the buccal branch of the mandibular nerve, that is sensory, and this one pierces the buccinator to supply the skin over the cheek. Surrounding the parotid gland, overlying the buccopharyngeal fascia, there are about 4 to 5 molar mucous glands. These molar mucous glands, they pierce the buccinator and open into the vestibule. And between the buccinator and the mucous membrane of the vestibule, there's a layer of buccal glands. They also open into the vestibule. Now, coming to the structures piercing the buccinator muscle, they are 3 in number. The duct of the parotid gland, the duct of the molar mucous glands, and the buccal branch of the mandibular nerve that pierces the buccinator to supply the overlying skin of the cheek. This picture is to understand the relation between masseter and buccinator. Though we study buccinator under facial muscles, it is sort of deeply situated over the cheek region. The masseter is situated over the ramus of the mandible, and they are separated by the buccal pad of fat, as we have seen. Now, action of buccinator. The contraction of buccinator will flatten the cheek against the gum and teeth. This will prevent accumulation of food within the vestibule of mouth and thereby helps in mastication. Also, the contraction of this muscle compresses the blown out cheeks and raises the intraoral pressure. This is helpful in playing wind instruments and in whistling. Now, how to test this buccinator? Ask the patient or the person to blow out the cheeks, keeping the mouth shut. Then tap on the cheek to see if any air escapes from closed mouth. Injury to the buccal branch of facial nerve leads to paralysis of buccinator. What happens in paralysis is that the mastication is affected. The food tends to accumulate in the vestibule of the mouth on the affected side. And also, when you ask the patient to hold water in the mouth, the water escapes from the affected side quite unexpectedly.